Hello and welcome to Good Games Well Played, episode 187. I'm Clint, aka JCM. With us this week is Isli.
Yo.
And Zaya is in another state because it's the holidays, so I forgot that Zaya was going to be out of town. But yeah, recording slightly early because it's right before Christmas, and there's not too much to go, which I figured would be the case. And we can kind of just talk about what we've been playing mostly. But some of the few things that popped up early in the week is that the director for the Final Fantasy Rebirth installment, it's coming to PC in January, and he's like, "Hey, can you not make inappropriate mods when it comes out on PC?" Which I thought was really funny because I'm like, "Yeah, no, they're not going to listen."
I feel like that had to have just been like marketing or something for it, because he knows they're going to make mods for it, and he must know that even commenting on it is going to make people want to make mods even more. Like, there's no world where his statement results in less Rule 34 mods and shit.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like, look how fast people are trying to get the models in Marvel Rivals. Like, Squirrel Girl is like the big target, and they're like, oh, it hit the web, and then suddenly it's like everyone's all excited. I'm like, all right, man. Okay, whatever you guys, degen all you want. Just why you got to make it so public on Twitter? But anyway, I just thought it was funny. And then the other thing I saw is that the Borderlands 4 narrative director has kind of come out, agreeing with a lot of the criticisms of the toilet humor in Borderlands 3 and said it's definitely not going to, while it's a little more serious, it's not going to be having that kind of over-the-top tone in Borderlands 4. So that's
which I commented on, and I'm actually excited about, because I do think that while Borderlands 1 and 2 leaned more towards toilet humor than not, they had like a lot of good moments in between and interspersed that really like changed it up. And they also had a lot of like smart humor mixed in as well. It wasn't all toilet humor. And then like Borderlands 3 just replaced all of it with toilet humor. It really should have been the most dramatic Borderlands game they had, and for some reason it just fell flat because of all the humor.
Yeah. I feel like it's like, okay, let's get in as many. Plus they like had to have as many cultural like references as possible. It felt like, but of course it's, at the time, so it takes a couple years to come out. So that's an issue there. But yeah, hopefully it's toned down a bit, because it can get a little, like I said, I guess there is some of it in Tiny Tina's Wonderlands. It's not nearly as bad as I remember from Borderlands 3, but it feels like it fits more of that silly tone of Tiny Tina's versus like a base Borderlands game. It's like, yeah, you can have it just, you don't have to do it all the time. Like, I don't need, that's why you usually have one comic relief in something, because you don't need everybody cracking wise, unless you have someone who can write really well, like James Gunn or something. But
I was thinking, like, I feel like the only person that pulls that off, I started watching Creature Commandos, so I'm like, yeah, James Gunn pulls it off, but then he also has an all-star cast for all of his voice actors, so it's like, yeah, that's why you can pull it off. You have ridiculously talented people all around, and the Borderlands writers are, they're not that. They're not on the level of like Alan Tudyk and James Gunn.
Yeah.
Not to say they're bad. Those people are just like phenomenally talented.
Yeah. But yeah, we'll see. I mean, obviously it's, still ways out, but hopefully it means good things if the narrative director remains true to what they're saying.
Yeah, I'm happy about that. I said that from the trailer, that it looked like it was a little bit less potty humor, and that they kind of just seemed to focus the trailer on like the music and the tone, which I thought was interesting. It didn't have like a ton of identity, but I thought it was an interesting tone when we saw the release, or the reveal rather. So yeah, I wouldn't mind them toning it back and making it a more adult game while still keeping identity.
Sure. Yep. But yeah, other than that, there wasn't too much news that happened this week. Like I said, it's pretty quiet. There are some small things going on. Fortnite we don't need to get into. And then there's also some Larian's trying to, I guess, beta test patch 8 because the crossplay. They want to make sure it works properly before they just or do some more proper testing before they kick it out there into the wild. Then I guess there's some Killzone items for Helldivers 2. I know there's a pricing controversy where I guess the items cost quite a bit on the store, and they end up saying that's our bad. So they gave them for free, which is nice. Like, hey, you get backlash for the overpricing. It's like, okay, you just have them. Like, there you go.
I wonder how much control they have over stuff like that versus like Sony.
Well, they said don't blame Sony. This was on us. Like they came out and said that, versus like the PSN thing, like being obviously Sony's thing to do. So they said, yep, that's our bad, which is interesting because so much of like the Apex Legends stores histories has been like overpriced cosmetics, and in that instance, it's on EA, probably pushing them to do it. But they never seem to change, so it's interesting stuff. But yeah, other than that, I was trying to skim through if there's anything else that was worth mentioning, but there's not a whole lot here. So yeah, we can go ahead and move on from that. Like I said, sparse week because of the holidays, to what we've been playing. I'm trying to remember what you.
I played a shit ton of Core Keeper.
Yeah, but I figured it was just Core Keeper. Yeah, and then did you play anything else, or has it just been Core Keeper this past week?
It's largely just been Core Keeper, though I did go back and I played the new Astrobot DLC that they've been releasing for free. So they released the 5 additional levels in like a new world, all kind of as speedrun levels. So I went back and played that, and honestly, they're just really cute. I kind of say the same thing I say every week about Astrobot, which is just that like it's a really cute and polished and well-made game, and it's just kind of fun to play. The DLC levels they're kind of more of what made the base game great. They're not enough to like, I don't know. I think I beat them all in like an hour. It's pretty short, but they're all free, so it doesn't really matter. But it was worth going back to, just kind of like dicking around for an hour and trying them out. So I did that. I enjoyed it. I am almost done with Core Keeper since I almost have the platinum, and there's really nothing else I can do in the game. And then it's the whole dilemma of what do I start before the holidays? I played like half an hour of Metaphor ReFantazio, which like I liked the initial half an hour, but now I'm in that like dilemma of do I get wrapped up into this, or do I try to play something else instead in between? And I might do Prince of Persia like you suggested, but yeah, thus far it's kind of been a heavy Core Keeper week still.
Well, that's good. As long as you're having fun, got to keep grinding. I mean, that was kind of that week I had the other one where I was playing nothing but Icarus.
It's a fun game. I have really enjoyed it, and it's definitely getting to that point where I'm like, there's one trophy left, and I just need to get that one trophy because I think I'm ready to shelve it for a while.
Yeah.
Turns out if you play like 200 hours of a game in like a month, you can move on.
I've been playing. I finished Prince of Persia last night. I beat the final boss. It was so weird because you get to like the final boss, and it's like, oh, the boss is in this room. Like one of the objectives to get a key to access the room in order to fight the boss. So it's like, oh, are you gonna go get him? And it's like, warning, this is the point of no return. I'm like, okay. So I got there like a couple nights ago, and I stopped, went back, I did some kind of like treasure grinding, grabbing some stuff. Not really working on side quest progress, just like grabbing some treasures around, trying to get some upgrade materials for my weapons. And then last night I was like, okay, let's just go do the boss. I'm not going to finish the side quests. I did a couple of them off stream because I'd only been playing the game on stream. I did a couple treasure hunting bits. And then I was like, all right, let's go do this boss. And I like went fight the boss. And if you die, you still just spawn right back outside. So I'm like, okay, well, that didn't do anything. And then I'm like, so there's no point in saying this is a point of no return. And then I go, when I beat the boss, it's like it just kicks you back out to right before you did, so you can do all your cleanup. I'm like,
it's still not the point of no return.
Yeah, I'm like, maybe it was at one point and they patched it. I don't know. Like maybe there was like, but it seems like NG Plus was there from the start, or not NG Plus, but at least like kicking you back out in the world to do the collection stuff. I was like, this. Why do you gotta like scare me? Like I thought, but it was also really annoying because like every time you went back, like if you died, you had to go talk to this NPC, skip through the dialogue to go to the building that you're talking about. It says the same, point of no return message. You go in there, you have the cutscene, the boss runs away, then you have to chase them through a very small platform section, which is so weird to me. Then you find them, then there's a cutscene, and then you do the fight. So anytime you die, you have to redo that entire process. And I'm like, why? Why did you make the boss run somewhere? Like, just cutscene me to where they are. Why am I platforming to? I don't understand what the point is.
I mean, I'm sure it's because it's a platforming game, right? Like that was supposed to be the design decision of like, how do you have a boss in a platforming game? Well, obviously you must have to platform to the boss.
You don't do that for like a lot of the other bosses. It's just like you die, you respawn, you go down, you land in the boss arena. It's not like you go to the boss.
It's not like a constant design thing throughout the game.
No, the bosses don't run. It's like you go fight the boss, and it's like, oh, I got the ultimate power, and then they teleport away, and it's like, okay, just cutscene me chasing them to where they went, and then we fight. Like, why do I have to stop? I get out the cutscene, do a couple jumps, and then get to them. Like, I don't understand the point of that unless it's like, oh, this is the only way we can load the arena. Like, I don't know. It's a side scroller, man. Like, I don't know what you want from me, but it's just like, it was super frustrating. Like, anytime I die. But aside from that gripe, great game. I really enjoyed it. Great combat. Great puzzles. I love the maneuverability options they give you, which just really expands the possibility for puzzle design. Like, there's some really clever designs I wouldn't even think of because of some of their abilities. I really love it. Lots of sections where some challenging puzzles where it's like, you're always off the ground. You're never touching the ground through like a long section. And they do this thing with this one collectible currency called Xerxes coins, where when you grab them, you don't just get them. You have to return back to a safe standing platform. So it's like you do this
that's kind of fun.
Yeah, so it's like you can't, just grab it and then die and then go back. Like, you have to make it safely back, which I thought was really cool. Granted, they're not really that good of a currency. It's like, okay, I can buy a couple medallions that are like hardcore mode medallions that you'd want to challenge run with or something, or they're kind of used for an upgrade currency sometimes, but not as many as there are in the world. But still, they're fun to get. And like I said, it's just really fun game. A lot of fun boss fights that are very much like, okay, standard style of learn their moves. And then
how are the controls? Because I feel like in a platforming, like Metroidvania kind of platformer, the controls are the big part. Whether they feel fluid or whether they're kind of like sticky and aren't fun, or you're fighting them versus being able to do what you want to do.
Really good. I like them. It feels great. The one thing that I'm not used to in this game, and I guess it's the same in like a Souls game as well, but like there's a counter mechanic, but you have to be facing the direction of the projectile. And sometimes there's situations where like I might be getting attacked by both sides. And I'd be like, oh, I want to block this one, but I can't block the other one because I have to turn to get it. And then you can turn super quick, obviously, if you wanted. But they do have like an accessibility option to make it to where you can parry anything from any direction. And there is like the boss fight I did, the final one, there's this like a projectile move where at one point they're coming from multiple directions. I'm like, oh man, I have to just go run in a corner because I can't turn left and right to quickly block these and deflect them back and everything. But overall, yeah, it's great. I think it's a really good game. I wish the order in which they gave you traversal upgrades was a little different. I wish you got the double jump earlier, and then there's this other ability they give you early on that I wish they gave you later. But just to give me some more options in combat. But yeah, it's the game also has these puzzles that are like environmental puzzles, but they're not like anything else in the game, and there's no clue as to what you're supposed to do. Like there's one where it's you have the chakram that you can throw, and in lieu if you run out of arrows, you hold down the triangle to shoot your arrows, and instead you throw your chakram, comes back to you, you can deflect it, you can do some combos there, yada yada. But it's a circle, obviously. So there's this one environmental puzzle where it's clearly just tic-tac-toe. So I threw my chakram up to where the other O would go to get the win, and then it's like, you solve the environmental puzzle. Here's a chest with a reward. And like these are indicated in the world by this icon on like this thing on the ground that indicates, hey, this is where the chest is going to spawn. And eventually you find the architect who designed all these puzzles, and it's like a challenge, like, hey, can you solve all my puzzles? If you find them all, come back, and then you have to do another little puzzle, and it's like, okay. But they're so like, and I can spoil them here because you won't remember, but there's like some where it's like it's easy, where it's like, oh, there's three monks, not monks, they're like these guys that are praying, and there's one extra spot that's empty. It's like, okay, well, I just press down as if I'm praying, that solves the puzzle. Okay, that was easy. There was another one where like it was actually a statue puzzle where it's like there's a not a poem, but like a story about 3 people or 4 people. And it's like, oh, the big one was the guard, and he looked east, and this one guarded 2 others. So it's like you have to move these statues around in the right order, and then that solves it. And like, and you get that one's early on, because as soon as you get this ability to move objects, it's like it gives you that puzzle right away. But there's some other ones where it's like it doesn't give you any clue, as like there's a grid of 9 of these blocks that when you when you jump in front of the symbols, they glow, and then like this other block from off screen comes and slams in place. It's like a platforming mechanic in certain sections of the level. And so it's a 3x3 grid, and it's like you have to make a specific symbol by highlighting certain squares, but you don't know what the symbol is, like which ones you're supposed to highlight. So just like jumping around trying to solve it, and then I just solve it randomly I just happened to highlight enough squares that all the ones I needed to have highlighted were highlighted. So it's like, okay, I guess the solution there is just highlight all 9 at the same time, and then it's like, or as long as you get the 5 that you need, you're okay. So it was like that was weird.
But are there clues as to what you're actually supposed to be doing?
No, there's no clues. That's why that one was like, that one's annoying, because on the symbol for the blocks, there's like 2 arrows pointing right, 1 arrow pointing down, and 1 arrow pointing left. So I thought, oh, the solution is I need to highlight 2 squares, like jump, so I can highlight 2 going to the right, not me jumping to the right, and then I get the 1 going, then I go down, and then I go left. So I like use my traversal abilities to make myself highlight 2 and then go down 1 and then left 1. To be like, okay, maybe in it's a certain quadrant of this 3x3. It's like, no, it's like the symbol that it ends up being is like nothing. There's no solution, and it's like that for all the other puzzles. Like they're very like there's one where it's it's very like you line it up and like there's a broken piece, like it's like that art where it's like you look at it's like, oh, it's a dolphin, and then you walk to the side and it's like a bunch of pieces of trash to symbolize like the trash in the ocean, but if you look at it from the single, it's a dolphin. Like that kind of art where it's like, okay, it's this kind of building, if you run past it a certain way, it makes the full structure, and it's got a circle. It's like, okay, I throw my chakram in the circle, solution solved. And there's one where it's like 2 statues aiming arrows kind of up at an angle but facing each other, and so I just end up just shooting an arrow up in the middle of them, and it's like, okay, that solved the puzzle. It's like, all right, so some of them, they're like, you can kind of read like, I'll just try this and it works. But it's like that one was weird. There was another one where it was like, I won't even say what it was, but it was like, I don't know how I wouldn't have solved that one on my own. Like I looked it up specifically because I'm like, this one I don't even want to know what it is. And it's like, I wouldn't have thought to do XYZ. And it's like, okay, whatever. This is such a weird. It was like the most, like, again, they don't fit with any style of any other things you have to do in the game. It's like, it's just weird, unique stuff that are all different, and they just throw them at you. It's like 8 of them or something like that. But those are the only things that are weird. Cause I'm like, how do I solve this? But
I mean, I like that it's different things, but yeah, a little strange if it doesn't connect at all.
Yeah, it's just weird because like the first one that you find that they tell you about without you just stumbling across it naturally is like the moving statues. So it's like, okay, there's a clue here telling me what to do with the statues, but then none of the other ones have anything on them. It's just like, okay, whatever. I guess if you find the architect, and then it'd be like, oh, I have some puzzles. Can you find them? And then there is an NPC that you can get hints from. Maybe that NPC will give you hints. I have no idea. But usually it's like hints about the world, like how to get places, but not like how to solve a puzzle. But anyways, yeah, great game. Really enjoyed it. Had a lot of fun. It has DLC. It's on sale currently, but I probably won't download it just yet. I know it has like new abilities, so it'll have like more challenging stuff. But I'm like, if I wanted, I could just go back in and do all the challenge rooms I didn't do because there's so many of them. I mean, they're like hardcore challenges, like, you know, doing the Hollow Knight stuff. It's like, okay, I could do these if I wanted, but yeah, it's a good time. Really, really fun game.
Could you though? Because some of those Hollow Knight things are stupid.
Well, Hollow Knight is probably more difficult only because they're longer and they give you some more like breaks in, at least from what I've seen.
Some of the fucking Hollow Knight ones, I'm not bitter about it at all. The fact that there's like 2 or 3 that I just gave up on and was like, yep, this is never happening ever.
Swipe down to bounce off spikes. But yeah, I probably will go back to them. I think I'm done. And then because I got so many other games I can play now. It's like, okay, like Space Marine 2 is on sale on Steam for like 25% off, and I'm thinking like, maybe now I get it. It was on sale on PlayStation, but I think the standard edition, maybe it's still on sale. When I looked at the other day, it said it only had 2 hours left. But then when I looked last night, it said, oh, the deluxe edition was still on sale. But I'm like, I'm not going to buy that one. So I was like, I don't know if I need to add another game to my current catalog of stuff that I bought that was on sale. So, but yeah, and then after that, I just was like, I needed something to play, and I was like, okay, I'll just play more Icarus, and Icarus is just a lot of fun. That game needs crafting recipes pinned to the thing.
That
like
game's menu. So the few times I've watched you play it, that game's menu organization seems like it's a fucking nightmare. It seems so confusing.
It's fine for me. Like I guess I could see that when you first get in, but I feel like it's good. It's like, you know, inventory. And I think you just hit I if you want to get there. I usually just hit tab and then I pick what I want from the top of the list. I guess if you use controller, but I don't think it doesn't have controller support, I don't think. So it's like if it had controller support, maybe it would be built a little different. But once you get in there, like it's fine. It's like, okay, you got your inventory, you've got your crafting, you've got your tech tree, and you got your, I forget, maybe your journal or something. Like it's not that bad because I can navigate it just fine now, but I could definitely see like if you first get in there being it maybe seeming like a little overwhelming.
Maybe it's just how it appears, but whenever I saw you pull it up, I just was constantly like, holy shit, there's so much going on and so many boxes and menus you're navigating through.
Well, the other thing too is it's like, because you're not doing the motions of where I'm going to go, you have no idea where I'm going to go.
That's true.
So it's like, it's like versus you taking the control. It's like, okay, you're guiding this ship, so it's a little more easier to navigate. You know what you're looking for. You know what you're going to do. It's like when I watch someone play like a first person shooter, like a battle royale, and like I'm not looking where they're looking because I don't know where they're looking at. So I might see someone that they don't. It's like, okay, why are we going this way? It's like, oh, maybe they were looking at something else entirely. It's like we're not looking the same direction.
Yeah, I mean that's a whole other challenging scenario of first person shooters or Twitch shooters. Yeah. I tried watching people play like Fortnite on Twitch and everything, and it's impossible because they move so quick and you can't follow them.
Yeah, but yeah, it's not bad to get in there. I said really, really fun game. I really like it, Chris. I have a lot of time in there. But yeah, now that I'm done with Prince of Persia, I gotta figure out what I'm gonna do. I think I might jump into Against the Storm, but I feel like I kind of want to get something that would be, because I'm already doing building right now in Icarus. So I'm like, okay, do I want to do a city builder that has roguelike elements? Then do that right now and have to start over. I'm like, well, that's kind of what I'm doing with Icarus. But I'll probably pick like a story like Lorelei and the Laser Eyes or Still Wakes the Deep, something that's a little shorter, perhaps.
I was honestly thinking about both of those games for myself, since Still Wakes the Deep seems like it's getting phenomenal reviews and it won a bunch of horror game stuff, and then Lorelei and the Laser Eyes has just been on my radar since. Honestly, I thought it was you that mentioned it to me, but maybe it was Zaya.
I might have. I heard about it from another podcast. They were playing it, but just because they talk about puzzle stuff. But it's like, okay, that could be fun to add, and I add it on my list. But yeah. Outside of that, though, yeah, not playing too much else. Just those games. I did. So the second batch, I think we talked about it last time. Maybe we didn't talk about it last week, but I mean, we talked about it coming out, but I hadn't watched any of them. But like that's right. In the edit, I didn't actually talk about them. I just talked about people complaining about Pac-Man. So the second batch of secret level episodes came out on Amazon. The issue I'm finding with secret level versus something like Love, Death, and Robots is, so there's like an episode that's all about New World, the Amazon game, but I don't know anything about it except that it's fantasy. So like there's stuff in there that I'm like, okay, is the character we're following? Because to me, it's the weakest episode. But I've seen other people say like, oh, they really like the episode. I'm like, okay. I'm like, did you play New World? But it's like this king, like his ship crashes in the ocean. He washes up on this mysterious island, and like on the island, like no one can die. Like if you die, you just kind of respawn wherever. Like he respawns back where he woke up on the beach. So he goes to challenge the king. He's like he's a dude who's been handed down, like grew up in a place where like no one let him lose. So he just thinks he's really good. And he's voiced by Arnold Schwarzenegger, which I guess is kind of funny. And so he goes to challenge the king of the island, but the king just handily defeats him every time, and then he can't do it. So he's like, well, how am I losing? I thought I was so good. It's like, and the person who's with him like tells him like, oh, well, it's because people just let you win. And then
it's because you suck, bro.
But then he goes and finds like some mystery cave with some dark voice and like demon. He gets like this demon armor, whatever, to try to challenge the king. And it's got like this really lighthearted tone the whole episode. But I'm like, I don't know what any of this is. Like I can get, okay, you don't die. But then at the end, like he kind of I'll just spoil it because it's a short episode and whatever. But he kind of gives up and realizes like, oh, maybe I don't want to be this king. His friend has one arm. He's more like he treats him more like a servant, I guess. But he realizes like he was kind of a dick to him. So he ends up spending his eternity there, like training to become a blacksmith from this person he found on the beach early in the episode who's a blacksmith. And then he builds him an arm. And rekindles the friendship, whatever. And then I'm like, okay, is this like, was he a blacksmith in the game? Like, is this a character for the game? Like, I have no reference for any of it. That's why, like, with Love, Death, and Robots, it's very much like, okay, because a lot of it is based on real world stuff. Like, it's typically real world, but it's like, okay, but there's robots. or it's real world, but it's a society that's like this. It's real world, but it's this, or it's maybe it's a little cartoony, but it's like okay, this is a future dystopia sci-fi, but they're just telling a little light story. Like it's nothing crazy. And usually, if it is something big, like the Swarm episode, it's like they talk about oh, there's this alien colony, yada yada, and they're trying to do this, and they're emissaries to the aliens, this and that, blah blah blah. Or the space jump one, the um, I'm blanking on the name on that's really good. Like they kind of everything you need to know is in those, but like because like even Dungeons and Dragons, like if you would want to know at least a little bit about Dungeons and Dragons to watch the Dungeons and Dragons episode. You don't need to. Like if you just like Lord of the Rings, then you can probably get by with the fantasy. Like what's the cult of the dragon? How dragons born? Yeah, it's like, okay.
Have you watched any though where you felt like you enjoyed it better because you knew the lore? Like, have you had the reverse where you've watched any single episode that's based on a game that you're really familiar with, and you went, "Wow, this game is great," or "This episode's great because I know the game, and that's why it's great."
The only one that is like that is the Outer Worlds episode, and I'm like, okay, this is fun because I could see like, yeah, it's like I played the Outer Worlds. I get the whole corpo bad, but like a funny bad kind of way they treat it. Like it's corporations bad, but they're kind of humorous with it, with the way they kind of just don't care versus like cyberpunk. You know what I mean? So it's like that episode is like, okay, I know this world completely, but like all the other ones, like a good one example of like I don't know anything about is like they have one for Exodus Odyssey. That's that new game coming out from I want to say the X Mass Effect team, like some folks there, I think. It's like that's the game where like you travel. I forget when they announced it. I think they announced it like Gamescom or something. But like there's like light speed travel and time capacity to do these missions. I think they showed some more gameplay of it. But like that one's like okay, you're kind of building up this world to an unreleased game. So I get this idea, this concept, these aliens. So that was fun because the game's not out yet. But like I didn't play Sifu, but I know the concept of Sifu because that one's easy to follow. The Unreal Tournament episode, like I didn't really. Like, I played Unreal Tournament. I don't know if I paid attention to any lore that was in it, but that was a good episode. And it's like, all I need to know is that there's a tournament that's Unreal. Like, it's like, that's fine. But I can see, like, oh, I guess maybe this means there was more to Unreal Tournament than I remember because, I was way younger when that series was out. And the last one I played was 3. So it's like, okay, that's a good episode. But, like, I know nothing about Warhammer, but I really liked the Warhammer episode. And it made me want to play Warhammer. Crossfire, good conflict. Like you don't need to. That's just military stuff. So it's like okay, that's fine. But like the Armored Core one, which is why I wanted you to watch the Armored Core one. I'm like, I like this episode, but I'm like, I don't know the lore of Keanu Reeves is like pilot. Like, is he part? Because I won't spoil stuff in there, I guess. But like,
I mean, you can spoil it all you want. The lore of Armored Core is fucked up, anyways. It's another like Armored Core is basically competing corporations that all have built their armored cores, and you are each mission of the game you're jumping around essentially playing as like a different company.
Yep.
Sabotaging the other companies.
Yeah, because he like his character's like, oh, he's a legendary mech pilot. Like they don't have mech pilots like him anymore. Like he's old school. He's got some sort of AI like chip like fused in his head that can't come out or something like that. So like there's an AI talking to him. But like no one's like him. But then like in the episode, he comes across, he gets assigned a mission where he, takes out these people and he finds a base where it looks like they're making people like him in this base. But then
truthfully, I wouldn't even say that's Armored Core at all, but.
Well, it's just like, it seemed like, I'm like, okay, is there more here? Like, I get what they were going for. And I was like, it wasn't like, I like the episode, but I'm like, is there lore here for the kind of pilot he is that would help me be like, oh, it's one of these like that are kind of talked about in Legend or something in the game. Like I have no idea. Like, so
not really, not effectively. I mean, Armored Core is kind of like the other FromSoft games where there is a story there, but man, you'd really have to dig deep for anything of kind of like major substance beyond the surface level corporations fighting each other.
Yeah.
There are some like things that come up near the end of the game that I'm oversimplifying and not spoiling, but the things near the end of the game are like the only twist story elements. I don't want to give them away, but some legendary pilots. I mean, sure, there's an arena in Armored Core, and you can fight other pilots, and maybe they're just treating him as like the number 1 or number 2 spot in the arena. Um, it it sounds like the episode fits in with the lore of the world, but isn't necessarily like you don't get anything from it knowing the game, and it also doesn't really add anything to the world. It sounds like it's more just a story that takes place in that world.
Yeah, which again could be fine. That's why I like it, but because I don't know that, it's like I wish I had watched the Vadi video of all the Armored Core lore or something, or like knew something about it. Be like, oh, hey, I get this. Like,
I guess it's also possible it's from a different Armored Core game. So I'm talking about the recent one, but I only played like a few of them. There were some really fucking weird Armored Cores, so it could be something that's from like one of those games.
Yeah, because like there's the Spelunky episode is fun, but I don't play Spelunky, so I'm like I don't have that viewer thing of like, oh, it's funny that the character is dying to these traps. I remember when I was always dying to those, or oh, it's that trap, it's this trap. Like I'm sure like people who play the game know like the struggle of dealing with that, or the frustration of successfully getting past something, but then having some other trap come and get you. So it was kind of funny like to watch it, but I'm like, I'm sure I would enjoy it more if I had experience actually playing that game and understanding the comedic frustration of the main character.
That makes sense. I mean, your comparison to Love, Death, and Robots is good because you really don't need to know anything about Love, Death, and Robots to enjoy that show.
Yeah.
Each episode really is 20 minutes of world building story, kind of all combined, and you get what you get out of it, which is really nice.
Yeah. But yeah, it's so IGN. I don't know what their problem is. Like they gave it a 5 when they reviewed it earlier in December because they got to watch all the episodes before they released. I'm like, this, like, there's some there's good episodes that are like they're not 5s. Like I feel like if anything, like even if you have episodes that drag you down, it's like I feel like there's good episodes. Like I like the Dungeons and Dragons, even though it's like the mid campaign essentially. But and this like the Sifu episode's fun, even though I don't play Sifu. But like I like the Unreal Tournament episode. I like the Warhammer episode's great. I like the Pac-Man one. The Crossfire one's good, but it's just a military short. It has nothing to do with the video game essentially, because it's just about PMCs, I suppose. I feel
like that's always the problem you get with anthology shows, though, is you have some really standout episodes, some really average episodes, and some bad episodes, and you remember the really standout ones. But like when you take it as a whole and you look at it, you're kind of like, well, it had really good, really bad, and really average. What would you rate that? It's kind of like a 5.
Even the ones I don't like, though, it's like I don't like the New World one. It's like that's whatever. And like the Mega Man one is just too short. Like that's its problem. And I only have 3 episodes left. But like I wouldn't give, of the 12 I've watched, I'm like I wouldn't give it a 5. Like it's just like they gave, and it's funny because like people are ragging on them for their Sonic 3 review because the reviewer's like, oh, it's better than the other 2. It's a 6, but the other 2's got 7s. So it's like, but then I'm like, okay, well the problem you're having now is it's not the same reviewer probably as those other 2 movies. So it's like you have this disconnect. It's like how, right. Because they probably thought the other ones were 5s, right. And it's like, but which is just so frustrating. It's like I don't know. I feel like IGN's had this issue where they're having people who review stuff who aren't necessarily fans and or familiar with the source, or the series.
They're giving it to people that work there, and not everyone that works there is going to like every type of game. So you end up getting reviews like that where they didn't want to be involved at all.
But it's like, don't do that. Like when you had Souls games at Game Informer, like Dan Tack was the Souls guy. He reviewed the Souls game because he's passionate about them, yada. And it's like, okay, he would be the authority. Like, or just do dual reviews. Be like someone who's entering the franchise for the first time, and then someone who's a vet of it or something. Or like get the person who reviewed the other 2 Sonic movies isn't there, but don't have to like be like, hey, yo, John Doe, did you like the Sonic movies? And if they're like, not really, then don't fucking have them review the 3rd one. Like it's not that hard. Like I don't get it, man. Like don't put people on, like I get it, like not everything's for everybody all at once. But it's like
But if you did that, if you only gave it to diehard fans, you might only ever get games that were like 8 and above, which is another meme that happens on IGN, is that they rate every game that's like average is an 8. And the average is no longer like, a 5 or a 6 or a 7. Every average is 8, and the game isn't really good unless it gets 9 or a 10. And that's how they ended up in that boat. So it's like you can't win either way.
Yeah, and I feel like maybe they're trying to course correct too hard, but it's like I would rather read a review from someone who is familiar with, especially for a sequel, who
They
knows the
should at least,
franchise.
yeah, if they're doing a review for a sequel, they should at least be somewhat familiar with the past games to know where it came from. I'll agree with
Well,
that part.
it's like when the person they had review the Far Cry 6 DLC didn't like the Far Cry games. So I'm like, why did you have them review the DLC? Like, unless you're like short staffed, maybe that was the case. Like Ziff Davis fired a bunch of people. I have no idea, but
Could be.
maybe.
I mean,
But
honestly, could be.
but it's just like, then just don't review it. Like, I doubt it's DLC. Have them go on to something else. But it's like, just have the people who know a franchise. If it's something brand new, whatever, or it's like, because there are those opinions of like, hey, I've never done these games or this genre, but this one interested me, so I reviewed it and I really like it as someone who's never come. Like, that is a valuable thing for people who aren't into that genre, but a new take on it comes out and maybe they want to jump in. So instead of reading someone who's like loves it, there is value to that first time person come in. But again, I feel like with these sequel problems they're having, it's just like, or it's like the other thing which I think is weird too is like, I think about the Penguin review they had for Penguin, which I think was also pretty bad. I think they said it was like a 6, but like everyone's loving it. But then in the review, like they compare like, oh, it wants to be oh my god, what's that
Gotham?
mafia boss show that everybody loves from way back before Breaking
Sopranos?
Bad? Sopranos. Yeah, like it wants to be Sopranos, but it's not. And I'm like, but I didn't watch Sopranos. So I have no reference to that to be like, I'm not going to be compared. So to me, it could be really good. But if I watch Sopranos, I'm like, oh, it's not quite as good as Sopranos. But I didn't watch that show. So like, it's such a weird, especially for that show from way back.
I think it's
I mean?
useful though to like, I think it's useful to compare it to similar genres or similar feeling shows just because that is how we compare a lot of stuff. How many games now get reviewed and they're like, it's a Souls-like, it's not a Souls-like. Like, it's just shorthand for basically, this is what the game is trying to do, right?
True,
So,
but it's like, it's not like there's a 1,000 Sopranos likes out there.
true. But maybe in this instance, having not seen Sopranos as well, I saw it, but I saw it once and saw it not continuously through. But like, it could be a somewhat fair comparison in the sense that like, it could be so blatantly trying to copy The Sopranos that it is basically just a mirror copy, but bad. Though from what I've read of the show, people seem to like absolutely love it, and that IGN review just seems to be wildly off. So I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, they've had their reviews recently have been like you said, their non-game reviews have been really crazy. Like, it seemed like a lot of it could be just like, yeah, maybe the movie and the show that came out are bad. Like, obviously Borderlands probably is bad, but it's like, it seemed like there was a stretch there for a couple months where it was like everything that came out that they reviewed was like not good. It's like, this isn't good.
Everything was basically like a 4 or a 5. It was pretty weird.
It was weird. And I'm
Which
like,
it is possible they were all that bad. I guess it truly is. It could be that they really did all suck that bad. But yeah, it was kind of surprising when they were reviewing all of them like that.
Yeah, it's just I hate that reviews are becoming this thing. It feels like, because it's so many different people doing it every time I check. Because back in the day, it used to be easy. It'd be like they had, because it's that turnover rate too in the industry now, where like games media is slowly dying. So it's like it's hard to have people. It's like you gotta go to the kind of funnies, the min maxes, the Last Stand Media. It's like these people that have started their own things and just stick with them. Because like back in the day, it'd be like, oh, again, I like Souls games, it's Dan Tack, or I know enough about this person. Like before Greg Miller left for Kind of Funny, it's like, I know what Greg likes. I've listened to so many podcasts on Game Scoop and Podcast Beyond. I know what he likes. I know what Colin Mordea likes. I know what Jeff Goldfarb likes. I know what all these people. So it's like, if they say they like something, if they review it, I know what they enjoy, and if I enjoy that same stuff, that helps me. Like, that's more useful to me than a review itself, is knowing if I have compatibility with interests with the reviewer. And now it's just so anonymous. I can't. It's like, it doesn't help anymore. It's like reviews. I need that connection.
For me, I've definitely shifted to just kind of reading user scores in general, because I feel like that I started doing this on Rotten Tomatoes when the fresh meter is basically, did a critical review, score it positive or negative very broadly. And then a lot of critical reviews would score something positive in the sense that like it's above average. So it's like a movie that should be like a 51%, but then it has like a 90% fresh rating because most people scored it 51%. And it's like, well, that still could be a very average or like slightly bad movie.
Mm-hmm.
But because they like the way the tomato meter works, it always was kind of fucked up and weird. And you'd see like a 98% on there and you'd think like, oh, this is a phenomenal movie. I'm thinking of You, the Lobster. And then you watch it and it's just like shockingly average. But then if you look at, their combination meter, the popcorn meter of like whether audiences enjoyed it, I find that usually correlates a lot more to my enjoyment of a movie or show. And I've started doing the same thing with games of just like looking at Metacritic and seeing what the user scores are and seeing if a game hasn't been review bombed, seeing whether users generally enjoyed it or generally didn't enjoy it. Because I feel like, if a user generally enjoys it, I'm probably also going to enjoy it. And if users are generally enjoying it and it's a genre I like, that usually means I will enjoy it more than average. If they generally enjoyed it, but like it's a genre I didn't like, then it's usually less than average. And I found that works pretty well for me purchasing new games. But it's just like there's too much noise in the review community and too many politics with all of it that it's really hard to actually track people unless you, like you said, are looking up reviewers that you followed for years or like know their personal preferences. But frankly, I don't want to know that much about. I don't want to know. I don't want to have to know that much about a person to know whether or not their opinion is valid. Like that defeats the purpose of a reviewer.
That's a legacy luxury to me because I've been listening to podcasts since 2011. So it's like I know so much about a lot of people from the industry because I've been following them versus like the people that were reading their articles. Like it's because podcasts were so new back then. But now it's like I listen to so many just gaming podcasts. Like I like when a new game came out. Oh, MinMax has a review code. Typically, if it's a big game, they'll have 5 on there talking about in a non-spoiler way like what they liked. And I'm been listening to them for years on Game Informer, and then when they split off to MinMax, so it's like I've been just because I listen to those podcasts, like I had that luxury of like, okay, I'm familiar with these folks. I know that if Leo Vader likes this game, yada yada, he really loves this genre of stuff, this and that, So it's helpful. I do think I do prefer podcasts over just reviews because typically nowadays I don't know any of these reviewers. Like I can see a name, but I'm like, okay, I don't want to start now to build up the repertoire of okay, well, what else did this person review? And go back and check those reviews because I'm like, I don't got that kind of time. And because, again, turnover in the industry seems so crazy. I'll just...
But you also shouldn't have to, like, look up reviewers to know. If you have to look up reviewers, I know that helps to, like, understand where the person's coming from and their opinions. But if the reviews are so wildly over the place, or if, like you said, like, the fact that IGN puts reviewers on something that either hate the series or have no idea what the game series is about, it's like, I don't want to have to backtrack and look up all these people. I just want to trust that the website is actually like staffing things appropriately and that I can actually trust these opinions. Otherwise, I'm just not going to read the reviews. I will find other sources, which is kind of what you have done.
Yeah. I can't. There's too many new names and I'm like there's a couple that are still there at IGN, but I'll see like I'll still kind of click through a review and like on when they release on YouTube and I'll just kind of go to the summary and see what they say. But yeah, it's like if I don't recognize the name, I'm like, all right, well, I mean, I could take your opinion's like still valid because you're critiquing something, and you can't just pull yourself out like I really didn't like this, but I know like you're not omnipotent to be like, oh, I know 70% of the audience will love it, so just because I don't doesn't mean I'm going to increase the score. Like you review it as you see it, but it's just like it's just one of those things. I think it's just victim of that industry collapse and people losing their jobs and not having that legacy, which is having that kind of history in games. I think it's like it's so funny watching like I like React content, so I on certain things. It's like when I watched a couple of like the Game Awards videos, so then YouTube's in their recommended started pushing some other people who reacted to it. So I'd click on some, and it's so funny seeing people who are younger, and by younger I mean like probably like mid-20s, who are watching it who don't know a franchise. Like they're trying to guess the game, like.
Which franchises?
Turok and Onimusha. And so it's
fair.
funny, like,
what's Turok? Both of those.
And it's like, oh, it's N64. It's like, oh yeah, I don't know. But it's just really funny because you can see like, okay, they're not in the industry. They're just streamers or, they make vid content on YouTube. So it's like that it's not their job to be familiar with this stuff. Like, so it's really funny to watch people who are like familiar, like the Easy Allies and stuff like that, who are like them watching something and they know games, to watch people who are just playing games online, reacting to stuff, but they don't necessarily have the history because that's not a prerequisite necessarily for their job, quote unquote job. But yeah, it was just funny to watch. But anyways, going back to Secret Level, I don't think it's a 5. I think there's some really good episodes or some fun episodes in here. I think people would have a lot of fun, and it did get renewed for season 2. I only have 3 episodes left. I thought there'd be more because I know like people did say the Sony episodes are the weakest. The next episode,
kind of a shame.
The episode I do have next is the Concord episode, so I haven't watched that. But the last one just says Playtime Fulfillment, and I'm guessing that one is the other Sony one. I'm thinking, based on the description, it's probably going to be like a Ready Player One kind of situation, maybe, because I've seen like a clip of like where Sackboy's.
I was going to say, that sounds like an episode where they're trying to shove all of the franchises into one episode.
Yeah, because I know Kratos...
If it's Playtime Fulfillment, it's like, it's going to be the Sony episode, not a game-specific one. And I bet it's about, like, what Sony has done for all of their franchises.
Yeah. So Courier O is stuck in the endless drudgery of a point-chasing grind, but when a mysterious figure entrusts her with a strange package, O discovers that powerful people are determined to get their hands on it. It's like, okay, well, that package... Because I'm like, the Kratos hasn't shown up yet. I know Sackboy is apparently on because I've seen it on, like, Twitter. But I'm like, okay, it must be this episode's just all... Because they did say, like, PlayStation Studios. And it's like, aside from Concord, we saw this quick screen cap of Kratos. I'm like, okay, so these 2 episodes are probably going to be bad. Or just not great. But other than that, like, the episodes, they're fun. Like, the Spelunky one was fun. I like the Exodus Odyssey as a tone piece for a game that hasn't come out yet. It seems interesting. I'm like, okay, I'm curious how this will work. Mega Man could have been longer. And I'm glad it got renewed because now they can take some of those criticisms. And I'm curious why, like, because it's not Love, Death, and Robots, like, for Mega Man, was Capcom like, oh, you can only do it about before he becomes Mega Man? Or you can't do it, like, later on? Because I'm like, oh, you could, like, what were the limits? Because some of us are really long and some are kind of short. So I'm wondering, what restrictions did they have on what they could tell for some of these games? Because some of it seems like they went to town. Like, again, Warhammer.
It's weird because some feel like they're just not connected at all, and some feels like, yeah, I bet it's something with marketing. Like, you probably weren't allowed to spoil big things in the game, and it probably also just had to be approved by some, like, committee for, like, each company or game. And some committees were probably far more lenient and were like, yeah, sure, whatever, do whatever the hell you want. And others were not.
Yeah. But yeah, like a Warhammer one definitely seems like it might be a prequel to, like, it takes place before Space Marine 2. Because I think a character in it is the main character from Space Marine 2. At least from all the excitement of the Warhammer fans. There is this great scene in there where, like, one of the people, I was going to call him one of the Warhammers, like, I don't know what they are, in the Space Marine, there we go, it's in the fucking name. He like picks up this dude, and he just, instead of headbutting him, he just pulls him into his helmet to headbutt. And it was really, I was like, when I saw it, I was like, damn, dude, that's hardcore. Like, typically it's always like, you expect, okay, I'll do the headbutting as the big guy. It's like, nope, I'm just going to smash your face into my helmet.
So I've never played the Warhammer games, but I'll be honest, you should go down the rabbit hole of reading about Warhammer lore because it is fucking wild. Like,
yeah.
Warhammer lore is one of those things where if you start reading about it, you are going to be like, this is insane.
Yeah, and I know Cavill's working on the Warhammer stuff on Amazon, but I'm wondering too, like, because the only thing I know about Warhammers mainly was that there's orcs, because there's like the Warhammer whatever, and then I think I figured, okay, there's orcs somewhere in the world. I don't know if it's a different time period or what, but like, okay, there's orcs in Warhammer, and then I just thought it was like orcs and humans. And then I'm watching this, and there's like, okay, there's like this weird human tribe that they're gone down, but then there's also like these crazy mutants and this mutant sorcerer that seems really kind of creepy. And I'm like, all right, so there's some dark magic, and there's also like this counter magic that they have.
Read about Warhammer 40K.
Yeah, I guess maybe I'll watch some videos.
Have you seen the movie Event Horizon?
Yeah.
Do you like it?
I mean, it's fine. Like I it's not a bad movie, but it's like it's not up there. But
so basically like the best description I've heard for like Warhammer 40K's lore is that it's essentially like the warp drives in Warhammer are basically like if everyone had an Event Horizon kind of ship and fucked up shit happened like that. It's like the 40K lore is essentially like Hellraiser combined with Event Horizon combined with like previous knowledge of fantasy worlds. It's just really fucking weird, and I understand why people get really nerdy about it because it's kind of fun and wild lore that they've definitely built a big world around. And like Warhammer's like that as well, that it's just like there's a lot there, and I would love God, I'd love for them to popularize it like more so in mainstream media somehow, so that I could actually like watch a show on it. But it's a fun rabbit hole to go down. I recommend it. I don't know if I recommend the games, but I recommend the rabbit hole at least.
Well, I definitely want to play Space Marine 2 because that seems like a lot of fun. And I know it did get patched on PlayStation. I think the PS5 Pro patch also got some updates there. But I'm probably, if I get it, I'll probably just get it on PC. But we'll see. But yeah, there's some good episodes. Definitely check out in Secret Level. Like I said, I really like the Pac-Man episode, and I'm glad that there's this game that's going to come out with it. I thought the Pac-Man episode was fun, and then I like the Outer Worlds one because the ruthless corporations in that game, but there's like comedically ruthless, and like they're just so laissez-faire about it, especially in this episode where they're like, oh yeah, this is what we're doing. We're gonna make sure that this acid fixer gel works. So we're gonna put the gel on your arm, then we'll pour acid. You tell us if it stops the acid.
Tell us if it works.
And it's like, nope. But it's not a bad episode. And then like I said, there's some other fun ones. Like the Crossroad one isn't bad. It's like it is fine. There's some good choreography in there. But essentially it's just a military short. It's like it didn't need to be a video game. Like unless it was like Ghost Recon or something, it's like okay, I could see like maybe if you have some specific Ghost Recon tech, but it's just PMCs. But again, not a bad episode. But yeah, some good stuff. Again, ones you wish you were longer. Mega Man could be longer, but we'll see what they do with season 2, and if maybe they'll pick up some of the episodes that people really liked and continue. Like that'd be cool if they did like a part 2 of like the Unreal Tournament episode or more for Warhammer. That'd be cool, or continue the D&D campaign that they showed. Like just pick up where they left off. That'd be interesting. But yeah. Anyways, let's see. I'm trying to see if I have any of the notes. I think I wrote down a note when I was doing I forget what I was doing. I'm trying to see your podcast talk. I was using the I should have brought it up earlier when I was talking about watching people react, but I was watching someone react to I was watching a podcast that was their YouTube version was up, and they had timestamps just for recapping the Game Awards, but they didn't recap every announcement to talk about like, oh, this is the section where we talk about this game. And I only wanted to see this person's reaction to specific games. So I'm like, and typically what I'll do is I'll open up the script in YouTube and type in like a keyword that I want to find. But now YouTube has that like AI ask. So I type in like, hey, when do they talk about Turok? And then it takes a second. It goes, oh, the conversation about Turok starts here. And they talk about how it's been a while. So I click on the timestamp and it takes me right to when they started talking about Turok. I'm like, oh, that's cool. I'm like, it's instead of like, I guess if you're going to replace the script, whatever. So then I was like, okay, when do they talk about Onimusha? And like, oh, they talk about Onimusha here. I'm like, well, it's not that much further away from where they're talking now. So I click on it and it's like, it wasn't right at all. It's like, because even the description from the AI said, they talk about Onimusha here and they talk about this, and like the description, like that's not Onimusha. And I click on it, it's like it wasn't right at all. So then I typed it again. When do they talk about Onimusha? And it was like, oh, they talk about Onimusha, and then it was the proper timestamp. So it's not a perfect system. I've seen them do that summary for like people that stream on YouTube, which I think is kind of cool. And like I said, a good utility for AI because it's not generative, it's analytical. Where it's like, hey, you tuned into a streamer. Chat is if it's got like a big chat, like. The chat is currently talking about the streamer's performance, the way this video game looks, some big topic that maybe a lot of people are talking about. And like, I kind of like that idea, like, oh, where's chat at? Not that I give a shit about what chat's talking about, but it's like, it's kind of cool. Like, okay, where are we currently? It's like, oh, people, that's interesting. It's giving a little commentary and flavor to what people are reacting to in a live stream. But I don't watch YouTube live, so.
I've enjoyed the analytical AI for some stuff. I kind of use it the same way you do. It's not super accurate yet, but it's fun being able to get specific information based on like products or podcasts or things like that by asking an AI, as opposed to like trying to comb through. I use it essentially as like a search engine.
Yeah, essentially, it's basically just taking the Control F keyword, but it's also giving me, which also gave me the timestamp of when the word was first brought up. But it also gives me a quick summary of the next couple, bits of that conversation, which I think is, which is interesting. It's like I'm going to go there to get that information anyways. That's why I'm watching. But it's kind of fun that they kind of show you, because then I guess you see like maybe, oh, what did they think about this? And it's like, oh, it's here. They didn't like it, and be like, okay, never mind. I'm not going to watch them talk about that game. But yeah, so interesting stuff that they're doing there. But
are you blasting off?
No, sorry. I'm sorry you can hear that. It's like I think a leaf blower.
It sounded like music at first, like slowly getting louder, and I was waiting for something to kick in.
Yeah, they're probably going through it. I'll probably just go out soon. Yeah, I have a noise cancellation on my headphones. I do have a noise gate, but I guess if I'm talking, it's not. It will remove background noise, but like there's some that still hit a certain frequency that will slip through.
Yeah,
which is whatever. But anyways, all right. Well, we can go ahead and call it there. Like I said, not too much. Yeah, you got. Well, you didn't even talk about your laptop. You got everything set up. You're all good. How's it going?
I did get my laptop all set up. So I used my laptop for working from home, and truthfully, if I didn't work from home, I'm not sure I would have bought a new laptop, or I maybe would have tried to like get a different product or something. But I got it all set up. It works for all of my apps and things. I specify my apps and things because like it works for like the art programs I use, the music software I use. It works for Discord, obviously. It works for remote play and gaming, and the Wi-Fi is great. And I also hooked it up to my new router. The one thing that I haven't been able to get it to work well with yet is the fucking VPN client that my job uses so that I can actually remote work. And there's nothing weird about the laptop. There's nothing weird about the VPN client. We use FortiClient. But for some reason, which IT has not yet figured out, it does not consistently connect to my job. So I've still had to go in frequently, which is annoying. But it works really well for literally everything except for VPNing into my work, which is obnoxious because I'm just like, I don't know.
Yeah.
I think it's on their end and not on my end. I suspect it's because it's a newer laptop, and our IT is a small department of which we've laid off many of them over the past year. So I kind of suspect there is more to this than just my own struggles. But yeah, I like it. I was kind of worried about getting the 16-inch size because it was actually surprisingly hard to find exact dimensions of what the computer is. I didn't want the screen sizes. I wanted like technical specifications of the computer dimensions, which you truly think would be easy to find, but like Lenovo's websites with everyone else's websites were all wildly different. And I was just like, how are there so many different physical dimensions? These are the same laptop cases generally. Like, I don't understand it. But it all worked out perfectly. It's a larger screen size that's smaller than my current 15-inch laptop, which is great. Technology, woo, smaller bezels. It's a great thing. The screen is really crisp. It's just kind of fun having a new toy to play around with. But it already is making me want to update everything else. So like I updated my router, and then I'm like, I have a tablet I use too, and I'm like, should I get a new tablet too? Should I just, go ham and get new everything?
New.
Yeah. It's fun though. I like it. It's a nice computer. All I really wanted was for it to work, and it works. And I've yet to try it with a game, so I guess I need to like stress test it with something. But I tried it with I have a lot of like upscaling programs for images and a lot of like software rendering programs for like creating 3D renderings and things like that for my job. And I ran a few stress tests with all of that, and it works extremely smoothly with all of them. Pretty much better than my actual desktop at my job. So I have high hopes in it.
Yeah, you got to find something you can definitely push to its limits. You got to look for like
Stardew Valley. Yeah, I agree.
There you go. Now I gotta get some PC games that we can play together now.
I know.
Restart Core Keeper.
I was thinking Stardew Valley was not actually a wild suggestion for something I could see myself playing, but I'm like, I'll just play that on PlayStation. I think Core Keeper has crossplay.
No, there's no crossplay Core Keeper, unfortunately.
Really?
Yep.
There's no crossplay?
Nope. You just
Did we look this up recently?
Yeah, we looked it up previously. What you got to do is just go on to one of my favorite things when I first got my laptop back in the day was like adding games that I played on like PS3 or PS4 that didn't run at 60. to replay them. So I'd be like, I did that with Far Cry's because they went on sale like a couple bucks, and I was like, hell yeah, just replay those games at like higher frame rates. Especially like Far Cry Primal. That was a good time. Now you can get something like I said, you gotta get Factorio, and then we can play Factorio together, and you get all frustrated.
That would be a fun one to play. I think I also want to play. There's a lot of horror games that came out that I feel like horror games don't always make it to consoles quite as frequently as like other genres do. So there's been a lot of horror games this year that don't have console releases planned at all, and it'd be kind of nice to give them a shot. And
yeah, that'd be fun. Got to get Escape Simulator so we can play that. It's only a couple bucks.
Yeah,
I'm trying to see what else. Forever Skies to get a co-op update, but
Forever Skies would be a good one. That'd be fun.
I'll wait till 1.0 maybe for that to come out. I'm trying to think of what else. It's Sons of the Forest, so we can play that. That can push your game.
Sons of the Forest would be good. I really hope that Sons of the Forest actually releases on console soon.
Well, it has controller support just fine, so you can still use a controller with it. It'd be good to go.
It's not the controller support. It's more of like for the success of the game. It's not even the trophies. It's like for the success of the game, I just hope that it actually still comes to console. And I have some fears that it's going to be one of those games that's perpetually stuck because it hasn't released fully yet, right?
It's 1.0 came out in February.
Did it? Okay. Never mind then. I was thinking 1.0 hadn't come out yet, and I was worried it was going to be perpetually stuck in early access. And I like the Forest a lot, so I don't want it to be perpetually stuck.
Oh, you could buy the Forest for $1.99. I was trying to see if there's any good mods because I could.
That appeals to me a lot more is playing games with mods. I was thinking, one of the not Fallout 76.
Metro Exodus is $3.
One of the Fallout games just had that big mod that got a lot of high praise. Yeah, Fallout London. That would be a fun one to play and give a shot.
Total War Warhammer is $6. Let's see. Keep Talking to Nobody. Ooh, Keep Talking to Nobody Explodes. We should get that one for sure. That'd be fun. It's $1.50 right now. I'm trying to Stellaris. Like, there's some deep discounts on Steam, but Grim Dawn. What is that game?
It's a lot of options now.
Yeah, like gotta check. That's why I go on. I just add a bunch of stuff to see. Damn, they're actually. I haven't looked at my wish list. There's a lot of stuff on sale. Banishers New Eden's 50% off. Void Train's 30% off. Volcanoid's 30% off. Forever Winter is 20% off. Dale and Dawson Stationery Supplies is 40% off. We should get Dale and Dawson. And then we don't have 4. I think you need at least 5 to play that game.
I don't even know what Dale and Dawson is.
It's essentially it's a Among Us in the office. So it's like you're at
okay, I do know what that is.
Yeah. I want to play that, but I feel like 4 people wouldn't know because you're gonna have the manager, and then if you had 4, only one person would be the slacker, and that
I watched RuneB, I think, play that. I don't know. I watched some Twitch streamer play that, and it was really funny.
Make sure you add Subnautica 2 to your wish list. That way, when that comes out on PC first, we can play that. And then
is that game coming out PC first?
It'll probably be early access first, and then who knows if I don't remember. Subnautica 1 didn't. Did Below Zero launch at the same time?
I thought Below Zero did, but I also
maybe Below Zero did.
I don't love playing early access games.
That's true.
I like really waiting for like the full release of a game.
Yeah, I typically will only at least I do like it because a game I definitely know I want to try like Forever Skies, and it was Steam. It's like okay, if I know it's been out, like Forever Skies had been out for a while, and I checked reviews like it's really good, and then I knew 1.0 was going to come out eventually, and it was on sale, so I'm like because I know I'm gonna get it regardless. I'll get it now on sale, and then when 1.0 comes out later this year, I'll be good. Now 1.0 got pushed, and I need to play it for 10 hours I think. And I enjoyed it, or 11 hours. So I had a lot of fun with Forever Skies. I just now I'm waiting for and they did have a big update. I should go back in there and check it out. But we talked about it last week. But yeah, that game I'm waiting to go back into in 1.0. But I do like because I kind of want to see like now I'm like I'm interested if they're close to it. Like what minor changes will they fix? Because now I kind of want to have that perspective on some games to be like it's like not every game obviously I wouldn't do this for everyone, but because I knew I was going to get this and I wanted to play it. I was like I'll just get it. Because it was super discounted. It's like easy way to get an early deal before a game even launches.
Yeah.
But what else? I'm trying to see what else is on. But yeah, they got a lot of stuff on the store right now. It's currently on sale. So, but anyways, all right. Well, we can go ahead and call it there. We may be recording next weekend. I mean, we'll see if anybody's available. I mean, I don't know how long Zaya's going to be out of town, and then how busy you're going to be. So we'll figure it out. But
yeah,
maybe we can play some. You take any time off between Christmas and New Year's?
I am. It's just my mom is still here, so
yeah. Okay, I was gonna say we should play some co-op stuff.
Yeah.
I do have a couple days where I'll be like, the kid's youngest will still go to daycare on most of the days, and then the oldest is going with his in-laws on like I think on Thursday and Friday of next week. So I'm gonna have like all days. I'm just gonna stream like all day and just have some fun. Make sure I gotta time my workouts properly if I'm gonna do that. But yeah. Oh, speaking of workouts, I casually hit a bench PR the other day. I just turned around for some reason. I have never actually done like a focused bench block because I didn't get a barbell until like right before this was like that was what the end of 2021. I didn't get my rack until 2022. So I did like dumbbell bench press, but I've never done like when I got the rack. I started doing that 5x5 program. But I was really focusing.
That
on
was a long time ago, wasn't it?
That was 2022. And then like right before my second kid was born, and it was that because my rack took a while to come in. I think it came around Christmas actually. So maybe it was like the end of 2020 was when the rack came in because I bought it in August, but it didn't come in until took like forever. But I did 5x5, but I never really pushed the bench. I was more focused on like deadlift and squat, and then I also had like some shoulder issues sometimes on my left shoulder, and so I wouldn't initially push it and that focus, and I forget where I stopped at because my other lifts were just skyrocketing. And then when I did like normal just upper lower or push pull legs, I would still kind of take it easy on the bench. So I never really again did a full strength like let's see how high this can go. So I like casually hit one on barbell bench press the other day. So that was kind of fun. I was like, oh well, let's see how high we can get this. Maybe if I retool my routine to be a little more strength focused on bench, I can get that higher. But like I really enjoyed the other lifts so much more that I'm like, yeah. So I thought that was kind of fun. But I want to get back into deadlifting so bad, but I'd have to change my routine, and then I need to move some stuff to be able to do it again. I do miss deadlifting. I am squatting again in this routine, which is nice. I do like squats. I'm not taking them right back up to where I was a couple of years ago. Because I also, that was the thing about the 5x5 is I also stopped, and then when I went to a normal program, I still did squats, but I never took them like as high as I knew I could have gone weight wise. I like stopped. I'm like, okay, this training block is done. Let's do a different training block. So I never like kept with it for like 6 months or something of a couple blocks of just purely getting my deadlift and squat up at the same time. But I took them really high where I was happy with them, but I should have kept going, and I wish I did. And I'm like, okay, well, let's do some more squats, but let's not rush it back up to where I was. We'll take it a little slow, just add 10 pounds every time we do squats, and like, feels good. But I'm like, in my head, I'm still more like, I just want to get back to where I was. Like, just throw it on it. And I think what I'm going to do is do like potentiation sets, where like you do your warm-up sets, and then you put on a weight that's higher than your working set to really tax your body and get it kind of prepped. So then when you do your working set, it's a lighter weight. So I was thinking like, oh, I guess I could just do that. Do like one big potentiation set, like 20 pounds over, or at the end of all the sets, do like, okay, add like take a 3-minute rest and then just like put 10 pounds on, do one squat, do 10 pounds and do one, and just keep adding and then doing one, seeing how they feel. Because then at least I can see how they feel after I've exhausted myself from 3 sets. Or I could just do like some crazy pyramid warm up where I'm like, all right, just go up to working. Okay, now add 20. Now add 20. Now add 20. And just keep doing 1 rep and just see how high it goes comfortably. But it's like I got to take it slow because sometimes you can rush back into that too much, or you go too much too fast.
And you get injured.
Yeah, exactly. Then you got to start the whole thing over again.
Yep.
But anyway.
After like a 3-month wait, and then you're doing it in pain.
But man, I really want to do more deadlifts again. I just got to change my routine. But I want to finish this, what I'm doing currently. So anyways, all right. Yeah, we'll go ahead and call it there. So thank you all for tuning and listening. Thank you, Isli, for joining.
Yep.
And we'll see y'all next time.
Later.